Hey boys, it's HarmNone. In today's video, I'm going to be going over my picks for the 10 best sports cars in Grand Theft Auto Online. Now, a lot of these are going to be performance based, however, I do have some honorable mentions and other vehicles that are just generally pretty good for the amount of money that they cost. So it should be a pretty interesting list. Now, it's been a while since I've done a top 10, so if you want to see more of these, consider hitting the like button if you enjoy, of course, if not dislike, and consider subscribing as well. With all that being said, let's go ahead and get started with number 10. At number 10, we have the Bravado Banshee for $105,000. Now, don't get me wrong, the Bravado Banshee is a very, very old car. However, many of you will not know that it did have some additional customization added to it a few years ago with the release of, I believe, the Cayo Perico update into GTA Online in 2020, which is pretty cool. This added new livery options as well as a couple of other additional customization options that it otherwise would not have had. But then a little while later, they also added the HSW upgrade that is available for the car for $1,840,000. Now, of course, this is exclusive to the current gen console version of GTA Online, which allegedly is slated to be coming to PC very soon, so that may be something to keep in mind. But other than that, you can also upgrade it into the Bravado Banshee 900R through Benny's, which unlocks a plethora of new customization options that are otherwise unavailable for the 900R. Although if you do upgrade into the 900R, you will have a supercar instead of a sports car, so that is something to keep in mind. Now, the Banshee has pretty decent handling, decent performance generally when it's just the Banshee, not the HSW version or anything like that. Now, with HSW, you do get the increased top speed, which is sizable, much better acceleration, and the handling does honestly get maybe a little bit worse at lower speed, particularly when accelerating, just because you have so much more power available to you. And if you upgrade into the 900R, get ready because you're going to have your hands full. This thing does not handle very well, but it is a pretty fast car in a straight line. Overall, the Banshee is a pretty sweet car. I felt like putting it on this list. I feel like it's a very cool sports car, and it does have some nice customization and things that you can do to it with HSW or the 900R upgrade. Next up at number 9, we have a relatively new car in the Enos Paragon S. This thing is going to cost you $2,010,000. which is a relatively average price for a sports car in GTA Online these days. I can't believe I'm saying that, but that's about average these days. Now, this thing's pretty awesome. It's Imani Tech capable, which is awesome in the first place. You can put the armor plating upgrade on this thing, the missile lock-on jammer, as well as the oil slick proximity mines. Now, unfortunately, it is kind of a third-gen Imani Tech car, so it does not get access to the bullet-resistant windows, which does kind of suck. However, it is all-wheel drive, it does have really good acceleration, and a pretty good top speed. Now, all of these things paired together means it's going to have really good handling, and it's going to get you around track very quickly, as well as get you around in free mode very quickly, while also being very well protected due to the armor plating and the missile lock-on jammer, of course. Not to mention, it also has some pretty decent customization. Now, personally, I'm not a super big fan of some of the options that you can do to the Paragon S, but it is a pretty cool car nonetheless, and I do think it is worth mentioning on this list. It is one of the faster sports cars in GTA Online these days, not necessarily the fastest, and if you take it up against some of the HSW cars, you're probably going to get smoked. But if you play on last gen like Xbox One, PS4, or currently PC, this thing will perform relatively well for you. Next up at number 8, we have the Pfister Comet SR, costing $1,145,000. But unfortunately, this is a removed vehicle, so you can no longer purchase it on legendarymotorsport.com. Now, you can still get this, you're just going to have to purchase it from another player within the LS car meet, or you're going to have to wait for it to go into the LS car meet as a purchasable vehicle, or a vehicle that is available through Simians. However, if you're watching this video the week that it comes out, it's actually available, and you can get it in-game at the LS car meet, which is pretty sweet. So if you are interested in that, you should definitely check it out. Now, the Pfister Comet SR is based off of the Porsche 911, and you can make it kind of look like a more base model 911, or you can make it look more like a GT3, maybe even a GT2 from a few generations ago. Now, you're going to get excellent handling with this vehicle, a great exhaust sound, really good acceleration, and a pretty decent top speed that's honestly kind of competitive. This thing will give the Enos Paragon S a run for its money on track, and it is just a little bit more than 50% of the cost of that car. It's an awesome vehicle. The customization is pretty nice. I really like how this thing drives. I like the handling. I like the acceleration. It is a great package overall. And if you can purchase it, you should definitely do that. Next up at number 7, we have the Karen S95 with HSW. Now this thing regularly goes for $1,995,000. However, if you migrated your character from last gen to current gen, you would get the Karen S95 as a bonus for doing so. Now you can also upgrade this car with HSW, and that's only going to cost you a measly $525,000, and the performance gain that you're going to get with that HSW upgrade is quite sizable. For a time, this was actually the highest top speed sports car in GTA Online, as well as one of the very, very fastest in the game. However, things have changed a little bit, and it's no longer within, the top 1, it's more like the top 5. So still a pretty quick car. Now the customization is also pretty awesome on this thing. The only real beef that I have with the S95 is I don't think that the rear wheels are wide enough, so you don't really get a whole lot of traction with this vehicle. Now this can come into play for the better when you're trying to drift and things like that, but for most people, if you're trying to just get around and you want a vehicle to handle super well, the HSW upgrade is going to give you a little bit of a challenge with the S95, but it's nothing that you can't overcome. Overall, it's a really awesome car. It looks great. The customization is very cool. I would recommend that you buy it if you don't have it already. At number 6, we have the Grotti Italy RSX, costing $2,598,750, and that's for the trade price. If you don't have the trade price, this is the most expensive regular car in GTA Online for $3,465,000. This price tag is still out of this world, and it makes absolutely no sense to me. I think this was actually supposed to be the fastest sports car in GTA Online for a few years, but Rockstar messed up and didn't add downforce values onto it, so it doesn't have any sort of downforce modification, which means that it doesn't handle nearly as well as it should have. Now, if it did have downforce, it probably would have been the #1 best sports car for a number of years in a row, but it never had it. So it just had a really good top speed of about 132 miles per hour. It is all-wheel drive, so you do get that awesome acceleration, and despite not having downforce, it does handle pretty decently, I must say. But the best part of this car, beyond the performance, is the customization. This thing looks absolutely incredible, and all the customization options that you can change on it just add to the fact that this is a great looking car to begin with. The RSX is a very cool vehicle. It's not necessarily the first one on this list that I would recommend. I would say this is probably the one you should buy last, because there's a lot better performing vehicles and arguably maybe even better looking vehicles that are going to be ahead of it on the list, but it is one that you should own at some point in GTA Online for sure. Awesome car. Definitely doesn't get enough credit these days, but it is pretty sweet. At number 5, we have the Ocelot Pariah for $1,420,000. The Ocelot Pariah was formerly the fastest vehicle in GTA Online on last gen, topping out at about 136 miles per hour. And it was also one of the faster sports cars in the game, and it still is to this day on last gen, just not on current gen. It can't really compete with a lot of these HSW cars. This thing has a little bit of customization, not as much as things like the RSX or even the Karen S95, for example, but what it lacks in customization it makes up for in top speed and acceleration. Now, it is rear-wheel drive only, so the initial launch off the line is going to be kind of weaker, but once you start accelerating, you will start going very, very quick, and it's a pretty awesome car, so long as you are going in a straight line. Now, in the corners, it's not the best car ever due to the rear-wheel drive and also not having a ton of downforce, but regardless of that, it is still an awesome car, and it is a bargain as far as I'm concerned. For $1,420,000, this is an awesome vehicle, and you're getting a lot of bang for your buck with this one. Next up, number 4, we have the Grotti Italy GTO Stinger TT with HSW. Now, this thing goes for $2,380,000 without the HSW upgrade, and with the HSW upgrade, it's going to cost you $1,418,000. A seemingly quite random number, but anyways, the HSW upgrade on the Stinger TT makes it go really, really fast. Fast enough to make it the highest top speed car in the entire game, topping out in the 170 mile per hour range, which is absolutely crazy to think about. This thing is stupidly fast in a straight line. What it gets in a straight line does not make up for its cornering abilities, which are terrible. It's probably the worst handling car on this list, and it's like worse by a long shot than what is probably the next worst handling, which is probably the Karen S95 or the RSX. So this thing is pretty bad. It's not very fun in the corners, but as a straight line vehicle, it is pretty awesome. The customization options aren't the best either, but it does have some kind of cool ones as well. Overall, I don't think it's that great looking of a car, but the insane top speed is pretty hard to deny. Now, it will come at a bit of a cost. Obviously, this is one of the more expensive cars on the list so far, but it is pretty cool and it can get you from point A to point B faster than basically anything else that we're going to go over on this list, and almost anything else in the game, which is pretty cool. The Stinger TT, despite its long name, is definitely deserving of being on this list. Next up, at number 3, we got the Grotti Italy GTO. No Stinger TT, no HSW, nothing like that. This thing goes for $1,965,000, and for the longest time ever since it was released, up until very recently, this was the best sports car in GTA Online when it came to racing, getting around in free mode, anything of the sort. First off, it has a ton of customization, like so much customization, probably the most customizable car on the entire list. Secondly, it has all-wheel drive, which gives you a great launch off the line, but also great acceleration and pretty good handling as well. It also has a relatively decent top speed, around 130 miles per hour, but where this car really shines is on the racetrack. And the thing with the GTO and the thing with the Italy GTO is that it gets an insane bonus from curb boosting. Now, curb boosting is basically when you change elevation with a car on, like, you know, the right wheels or the left wheels or whatever, or if you go over small bumps and things like that. This car absolutely loves bumps. And due to those bumps, it can go really fast, and it is insane on the racetrack. This thing will beat the next fastest car by seconds every single lap, and the GTO is a really hard car to beat in a race. Also hard to beat looks wise. Overall, the performance is absolutely awesome, and if this thing had HSW, it would be an absolute demon. I can fully assure you of that. It's an awesome car, and for under $2 million, you should absolutely buy one. There's no reason not to have a Grotti Italy GTO. Now, at number 2, we have the second fastest sports car in GTA Online with the Panaud Le Carousse. And it does have an HSW upgrade that is available for it. Now, it's going to cost you $1,990,000 plus an additional $818,000 for the HSW upgrade. So overall, it's about $2.8 million that you're going to be into this thing for. And for that price, it is an absolutely fantastic car, particularly with HSW. With HSW, it's one of the very fastest cars for track racing, circuit racing in GTA Online. It would beat a lot of the supercar category, to be honest. It's that good. And the way that this thing gets its speed is due to its handling. Now, with HSW, it is, you know, improved acceleration and top speed wise, but the handling, no matter what, HSW or not, is absolutely phenomenal. It handles super well. This thing is on rails. It feels awesome to drive. Now, my biggest gripe with it is that it's a full EV, and you can only put on the EMS upgrades. You cannot do a turbo or transmission, obviously, because it's an EV, but you do lose a bit of the sound and a bit of the drama. It's just so direct at what it's doing, and there's nothing else about it. No engine sound or, you know, anything kind of cool about it. Now, the customization though is really cool. However, I just wish that we got an engine version of this vehicle. It's a full EV, like I said, but if this thing just had an engine, it would definitely be a lot cooler. Still though, it is an absolutely awesome car to drive. It looks pretty cool, and it's definitely going to win you some races, especially on tight and twisty circuits or off-road, because it does have advanced flags for off-road that give it more grip than many other cars in the sports category in this game, and many other cars just generally in this game. So overall, very cool vehicle. Now, for some honorable mentions, starting us off, we have the Enos Paragon R. This is a removed vehicle, and it goes for $905,000. So the only way that you're going to be able to get this is by purchasing it from another player, waiting for it to come into one of the dealerships, or you can get it as a customer delivery vehicle within the auto shop. So that is something to keep in mind, that you will be able to purchase it through there. And that's probably the best place to get it other than from a player, because if you're waiting for it to come into the dealerships, you're going to be waiting quite a while. The Paragon R has some awesome customization. It's also one of the faster sports cars in the game. It's all-wheel drive, gets a great launch, great handling, great top speed, great acceleration, and it looks fantastic, and the customization options help out with that as well. Overall, awesome car. You should definitely buy one whenever you get the opportunity to do so if you don't have one already. And for our final honorable mention, we have the Invitero Coquette for $138,000. This thing is absolutely fantastic, and it is removed. So the only time you can get it is through the dealerships or from another player, and it is available within the LS Car Meet, the same place as the Pfister SR, if you're watching this video the week that it comes out. The Cockhead for $138,000 is one of the best bang for your buck vehicles in the entire game. It's super cheap, yet it's super effective. It has great handling, really good acceleration, and it also has some pretty good customization. For being a car from 2013, the customization on this thing honestly shocks me. It is very, very good, and you guys should definitely purchase one of these whenever you get an opportunity to. It is an awesome car and you will not regret buying it. But of course at number 1, you saw this coming, the best sports car in Grand Theft Auto Online performance wise, and also one of the newest cars in the game. We have the Ubermacht Niobe for $1,880,000 plus an additional $1,800,000 for the HSW upgrade on top of the initial purchase price. So $3,660,000 all in. You're going to get what is the fastest sports car in the game as far as circuit racing goes, and the second highest top speed sports car in the entire game. This thing's insane. It's got all-wheel drive. It's got some really nice customization. It's based off the BMW i8, which is a very cool looking car, but underwhelming one in real life. But anyway, still a very cool car nonetheless. For $3,660,000, you basically cannot get a better car in GTA Online these days. It is absolutely incredible. It looks great. It performs well. What more can you ask for? You know, the price is pretty reasonable too. Under $2 million for the initial price of this car, which is crazy to think about. It's awesome. Buy an Ubermacht Niobe. There's not much more to say than that. This thing is crazy. It's very good. So there you have it, guys. That has been it for my picks for the top 10 best sports cars in GTA Online. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you learned something, a like is of course appreciated. If not, dislike. Comment a 7 if you made it to the end of the video. Consider subscribing to my channel if you guys are new. Comment video suggestions down below if you want anything top 10 related or anything of the sort. Let me know in the comment section. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, take care. Peace.